Hello world, I'm Chris Pirillo, and you are watching the LockerGnome Daily Report, or TLDR for short, your daily dose of geek news, gadget views, and answers that you can use. And if you give me just one moment, YouTube, is telling me that I'm streaming now, live. That's good, I think. It's also good to know that my father is here. He just walked into the room. Apparently no game playing tonight. And if you still want to get a hold of this amazing Sideshow collectible Darth Vader, super high quality. It's not a doll. It's not even an action figure. It's a super high quality collectible. The giveaway is still on. This could be yours. I gotta tell you, out of every single Vader that I have in my collection, this one by far is the most amazing. Look at that. The level of detail is astounding. How's that for something geeky to start your day? Or end your day, depending on when you're watching this video. Thank you for tuning in. It was streaming live. Thanks in large part to 415 patrons. Do you think we'll hit 500 by the end of the month? Well, you have a chance to do that if you're not already a patron. I appreciate it. If you value me more than a bottle of your favorite beverage, whether it's morning or nighttime, well, that's really all it's going to take for me to continue to do TLDR and more stuff for you. I'm still kind of working on the goals, but I think we're going in a very positive direction. So thanks again to the 415 people who decided to say, yes, you know what, Chris, you're worth more to me over a month's time than a single cup of whatever. Thank you for that. And I should also go in and specifically thank those who, I guess, pledge at a certain monthly tier. That's part of the value. Although I'm working on a different way of displaying their names in TLDR. I might put them in some kind of presentation and have it rotating through the background at some point. Escucci Headphones, Tom Matthews, Brandon Hawkins, Anthrit, the vlogger from Montana, Mark Hyder, Eric Land, Matt Pegler, Daryl, Robert Crawford, Safe Mahmood, Eva Brown, Schwazy 2013, Jennifer Metz, Christopher Wall, Daniel Spiva, Geekcast, Ulen Soli, Joey Hernandez. I always laugh at your name, Uland. Just don't hate me for this. That's all I ask, because I'm just pure American. That's all I am. I don't know how to say the letter with the slash. It's an O, but it's got a slash in the middle. I don't know what it's. It's new to me, being American. Thank you, Joey Hernandez, Andrew Myers, Chris Miller, Mark Flores, Daniel Hadley, and Ben, also known as Ack Dude. It's his handle. I don't. Guessing at the pronunciation of that. Matthew Wilson, James Isles, Joseph Brown, Frank Knightham, David Bates, Gregorio, Gregory Stepp, Kieran Bold, Ben Michaud, Sven Rosler, Mike LaRue, John Dezell, Ross Milne, Tony Ross, Andrew Neoculius, Jonathan Perez, Rick Sayre, Brian Brinkley, Alex and Tom's Tech Advice and News, Fraser Walker, and Brian Roberts. I also should throw in Courtney Ellis. Sorry, Brian. I know you wanted to be the last one read today. Otherwise, I'd have to walk the plank, but it didn't happen again. Thanks to all the patrons who are helping make this possible. We also have to thank at this stage our sponsor, who's making it possible as well, especially as we're beginning with the whole Patreon campaign, and I'll probably be diving into that deeper, if only in relation to some other bits of news that came across my desk today. This broadcast was brought to you by GoToMeeting with HD Faces by Citrix, the powerfully simple way to meet online. You can share the same screen and see each other in HD video conferencing. Start hosting a GoToMeeting in seconds from your computer or mobile device by signing up for a free 30-day trial. Visit GoToMeeting.com, click on the Try It Free button, and use the promo code Pirillo. Now, after I say that, starting to get parched. I'm better now, thank you for not asking. Put that over there. I just got an email from Twitter. Apparently I gained 141 new followers, over 1,300 new favorites, 986 retweets this week. You may not be able to see that screen. I don't need the paper, Dad. You can pick it up if you want. He's not as OCD as I am. But see, that's, oh no, that's fine. It's just a random phone case. They're all over the place. Dad, what are you doing? I almost called you Hun. I'm so used to Diana moving things. What do you, okay, do you want to show that? Okay, we'll show.
Cool to have all them things you can change.
Dad wanted me to show you. And by the way, you can talk to Dad on Friday. He's a part of the AMA we're doing with, well, I guess live TLDR. And if you have a question for my dad, stay tuned. Look at that. It's the base upon which you can sit Vader and you can exchange or interchange his hands, including a severed hand. Told you, this is like amazing in terms of quality and, I guess, flexibility. out of all the Vaders that I've collected, and Sideshow Collectibles was very, very, very happy to do this with us. And if you don't like Vader, fine. If we have enough people who enter this contest, we'll be able to do other contests, or I guess the giveaways, not really a contest, with that company. So what's interesting about these Twitter numbers, I always like to watch engagement. Like, it's not just about the amount of followers overall to me, because honestly, I'll tell you, 415 people are greater to me than 415,000 random subscribers, because these people are saying, Chris, I value what you're doing. I really believe in it. This is effectively what they're saying by becoming a patron. They value the things I do on YouTube or beyond, in TLDR or in my vlog, whatever it happens to be. So, I'm very, very careful when I look at numbers that come in, but I always watch for what interests you most, what trips your trigger, and tend to want to steer that direction overall. For those of you who are Mac users, or if you know a Mac user, we're still running the Mac Bundle 4.0, and you can get all of this software. Oh, yeah. Or you can sign up for that email newsletter, which I haven't necessarily done on my tablet here. Let's close that. We've already sold quite a few bundles. Name your own price and get all that software for OS 10. And if you have not already downloaded, as I mentioned yesterday, 10. Oh, that kind of freaks me out. Anytime I see a blue screen behind me, I know it's OS 10. Haven't had a kernel panic in years, but still. I can't be the only one who freaks out. My iPhone blue screened last night, and then it rebooted.
Really?
Yeah. It's a bug. Okay, it's still... I'm just seeing in the preview window. It's instinct, right? It's just... Boom. There's a screensaver called the Blue Screen of Death. It's part of the X screensavers. It's free, and I have it. It's free. You can download it on your desktop. But I also have the app. It's free on iOS, and I think it's called Blue Screen or Crashes. Let's see if I can find it. BSOD. So you can see different blue screens, so to speak. Here, let me go ahead and dim the brightness a bit. There's the red screen of death. There's a screen. Oh, there's an Android crash screen. It looks like a boot option menu. Look at that. And you can see different blue screens in that virtual screensaver. This is the one for Windows Boot Manager, a red screen of death. So you can see a blue screen in a screensaver on your iPhone if you want, an official BSOD. And it cycles through the various operating systems that it has in its, its array of BSODs. Did you guys know you could do that for free? X Screensaver. X. It's pretty cool. You even get bouncing cows. Sorry. This is the problem with me and software is I just get pulled in. If you always wanted to have bouncing cows on your phone or desktop, you can. And you can even stop the cows and rotate them around so you can see the cows bouncing that way. Bouncing. Dad got a kick out of it. Who wants bouncing cows? You can have them for free using X Screensaver. So there is an array of geek news to cover, and I will cover it. I also have to remember to thank the person who sent this to me, which I'm not going to tell you right now because I'm going to try to mix it up a bit. Let me go ahead and flip over to my notes. What do we have? 50% storage on a Galaxy S5 on the 16 gig model is taken up by Samsung apps. It was released today, the Samsung Galaxy S5. I do not have one yet. However, Dez has mentioned that I will be unboxing one. So thank you, Dez. You can stay tuned for that live stream as it gets posted at some point in the extremely near future. I imagine within the next week. Haven't heard from him. He's probably been busy with Mobile World Congress this past week or other things that Dez does at T-Mobile. But 50% of the storage taken up by default apps. Not a big deal if, your storage is larger than 16 gigs. But you're buying a 16 gig phone thinking you have 16 gigs. Nay. Half of that's gone. Right out of the box with default apps that you might need, you might not need, you might never use. Yeah, I don't know if Samsung really thought about it all that well. That said, if you want a Galaxy S5, go for it. If you love Samsung, hey, knock yourself out. I have not passed judgment at all because I've really yet to see one in its final state. It's just something that you should be aware of, and you might let other people know if they were interested in the S5. Sentiment, this was really kind of shocking to me. And I explained this the other day, how gadgets, as they're released, and I'm assuming people can hear me. I've got levels there, and let me check the comments of the live stream. Depressing screensaver. Oh, the blue screen, not the bouncing cows. I'm assuming that's what Jexter was suggesting. People were upset that Samsung didn't change enough. I've explained. They shouldn't need to because they've got a successful product. Expecting a radical reinvention of what the Galaxy is at this point, yeah, you're going to be holding your breath for a long time. If you want, radical changes, you're probably going to jump ship and go with something that's not made by Samsung, or certainly not in the Galaxy line that you've appreciated. It's I think, been updated or upgraded or changed or modified in every way that it should have been modified as a flagship device that has been very successful. Some people are disappointed. Where's the innovation? Oh, come on. You can't change things that radically if something is successful. Okay, let me put it to you this way. Let's you sit in Samsung's shoes for just a moment. You've got a successful product. An amazingly successful product. Everyone loves your product. But unfortunately, the product's a couple years old. You need to move more units. You need to sell more. What are you going to do? You got to come out with a new product. But they love that product. Why do they love that product? You've got to make that product, but make it better. But not make it so radically different that if it's so radically different, they don't like it. You remember when Dig updated their design? Remember when MySpace updated their design? They kind of lost their community. Same thing can happen with gadgets, with hardware and software and experiences. Samsung cannot make radical moves, not with their flagship device. So if you were expecting big leaps, you really got to rethink that strategy because I'm telling you, no company that's making money with their product can change it that big. And I realize, change it that big, make big changes with the product as it moves forward to be able to move more units. They got to make it similar, yet different. Great, yet better than the previous generations that people will upgrade. It ain't just Apple. And finally, I have an example in Samsung here. So you just got to keep that in mind. I did mention it yesterday, so I shouldn't belabor the point today, but I definitely wanted to cover it, if only because the S5 has been released and that 50% storage being taken up by default apps kind of hit the airwaves on the 16 gig base model. That would not scale, of course, up to the 32 gig model. The apps don't necessarily get bigger. Another little bit of news that floated across my screen. Tweets and Vines are set to play in Tweets, Twitter, Vine, the video app that's also owned by Twitter, set to play on U.S. movie screens this summer. Kind of interesting. I don't know if I would want to watch a movie while seeing what everybody else in the theater was thinking at the same time as the movie, unless, of course, it was just kind of a second-run movie. I wouldn't want to experience it that way, but maybe before the movie. That would be interesting to me, to see what other people happen to be saying. It'd be difficult to, target it to the people who are in my circle, because there are a lot more people than just me in the movie theater, of course, if the movie's that good. In relation to that, Google has now started to want to become a second screen as well, teaming up with Fox to offer online voting tools for American Idol, which Dad would be happy about. He, out of everybody in our family, I think he's the only one who watches American Idol. You're still watching that?
In fact, I'm recording it.
He's recording it. We're not singers in this family, so we have to live vicariously, and we're fine with that. I don't, necessarily want to be a singer at this point in my life, but I will enjoy as other people regale us with the tunes that are, spilling from their mouth. Let's go ahead and check out a couple of other headlines that I wanted to cover, because I have, just a little bit of time to spend with you every day. The integration with new Skype users is now complete. You can now sign on with a Microsoft account. Microsoft, they've got to tread lightly, especially when they're talking about a big brand like Skype. But, even then, I don't see or hear about a lot of people using Skype anymore. Some people do. It's great, largely cross-platform. But, there have been so many other applications that people have been using to communicate with pretty much all their friends without having them need to log into a certain service. I think those days are kind of behind us. The only reason I ever really log into Skype is when I know I have a call, or when I know that's the easiest way to get a hold of someone that I need to get a hold of, and email isn't necessarily a good option, or picking up the phone isn't necessarily a good option either. That's something that, I think could change, but Microsoft has to make quite a few changes with what Skype is, how it works, how efficient it is, and really where it exists now in this array of apps, the sea of apps that we now have. There's no shortage of places where you can go to communicate with a friend. Not really a big deal anymore. Used to be. Not so much. And I don't know if Skype has necessarily evolved to meet the needs, these ever-evolving needs. I would certainly make a few changes if I was, the director of experience for Skype, which obviously I am not. That's something that I think would speak to its position in the industry and its portability in the sense that you can pretty much get it on every device that you might have, pretty much. And that's, I think, its biggest strength, but that's not enough. You got to go a few levels deeper than that. And the question is what does Skype really offer? VoIP? Not really a big deal anymore. Used to be. Huge. Skype needs to evolve, and otherwise, if Skype does not evolve, I fear that it will lose ground on a pretty massive scale, because it doesn't take much for people to just stop using a product and move to something else that works better for them. 99% of my communication happens through a messenger that's not connected to Skype at all, and it can't be connected to Skype. So, good luck, Skype. I don't know. Maybe you guys are Skype users. Maybe I'm not the only one who feels this way. Brian Roberts says, I'm trying to use Google Hangouts more than Skype. It keeps crashing my PC. Yeah, Google Hangouts are a great alternative for a Skype video conferencing, because I think you need a Skype Pro account in order to have multiple people calling at the same time. Although I did want to take a look at that OkCupid app, which I think can also support multiple calls on video from a mobile device. Haven't checked it out yet, mentioned it yesterday, but Google's got a good thing going with Hangouts. For open, easy, accessible, and of course we talked about our sponsor, GoToMeeting, and the biggest value of that is it's GoToMeeting, it's Citrix. If you don't want Google to touch your data, to know what's going on, or to go through Google services to communicate, especially if it has to do with very, very sensitive information, that's when you would want to use something like GoToMeeting. Even Skype is kind of, maybe not. Is my information getting out there? Yikes, you don't really know. And that's usually where I when it comes to information that's sensitive, I just as soon go through as many secure channels, or have as many secure channels as possible. And that means eliminating as many middlemen as possible, especially middlemen like Google, who, Google's great. It's just that they've got great products and services, but 9 times out of 10, you're the product that they're using the service to leverage against. Open up Gmail and get served ads. It's one of the reasons why I don't mind Gmail. I never liked its interface. I could put up with ads. Not a huge deal. In a messenger client, not a fan of ads when I'm messaging back and forth, if only because, I can misclick and mistap. With content, I'm more used to ads. Content, it's really not a big deal. I'm acclimated to it. But for some reason, I'm a little hesitant to accept ads in communication channels specifically. And I haven't really quite put a finer point on that. And maybe I will. Maybe I'll get around to writing something lengthy that no one will read. Maybe you will read. I don't know. We also are on the cusp of launching the LockerGnome store, where we'll be selling geeky hoodies like this. I walked into the hospital today. We were doing some tests with Diana, since she's pregnant, and I asked them where I could find a soda machine, and they saw that I was wearing this hoodie underneath my jacket, and they're like, that hoodie owns this hospital. And then everyone turned around and looked, and I'm like, yeah. And they asked, where can you get it? I wanted to say, you could buy it through me, but we have not launched the store yet, and chances are they were just going to go and get it on Amazon anyway, which, if you're ever going to get anything on Amazon, just come to me. You can use our link, and then we get the credit for it, and everybody's happy. So, yes, geeky hoodies are coming. I was going to mention that we had posted another, what I think is a rather unique gadget, especially for those of you who might need it, a mini machete. I didn't even know these things existed until we had published about one today on LockerGnome.com. We're doing our best to find really cool, geeky, interesting stuff. Not necessarily going to be talking about the Darth Vader themed PSP case. Someone sent this to me. Thank you. I didn't have this. At one time, I had a Darth Vader themed PSP itself, and then I sold it like an idiot. The box is crunched, so I'll be taking it outside of the protective case. But thank you for this. It's a collectible, even if it's outside the case, and I appreciate those kinds of collectibles. Now, the bigger thing that I really wanted to cover today, and I'll be watching. By the way, I'll be watching the comments as they're rolling in. Mark Andreessen posted an essay, for the lack of a better word, that's pretty much what it is, about the future of news business, and I read this article, and it's a long, okay, not just an article, an essay. I mean, let me just zoom in here and scroll. I mean, it's long. But I wanted to cover some of his points of what he's making. He's talking about, how news organizations can survive, or they need to survive, because we're talking about being on the precipice of this radical change with how news is digested. This is something that I recognized long ago, and I found it very difficult to evolve. I even hired some people to try to help me scale, and they were the wrong people to help, which was really unfortunate, because it ended up being I made some very costly mistakes. So I wanted to go that direction, couldn't do it. I tried. Unfortunately, you're only as good as your weakest link, and I had a few weak links on my team. So no, not anymore, though. We're kind of going in a positive direction at this point, for better or for worse. This is where we are today. So this is another reason why I decided to go with Patreon for patrons to support the endeavors that we're kind of pushing forward with what I'm doing here and potentially beyond. Still working through some of the goals though, and obviously open to receiving your feedback on what you want me to do more of. And if I can do it, I would like to figure out how to do that with you. So thanks. So Mark addressed a few things about, how to make money. And this is not really rocket science. Number one was advertising. And, as much as I value that, because it certainly helps pay the bills, I've explained it before that advertising is difficult to attain as more and more entities are vying for those dollars. And, to me, it's just low-hanging fruit. It's not something that I really want to base a business model on, because I don't believe it's going to last, especially for smaller independent publishers. I don't really have an extensive staff. I have a couple of people who certainly do help push the stuff out that at this point we're pushing out. I've got a partner with the LockerGnome store, so he's going to help drop ship things to you if you decide to buy through me, the geeky stuff that we're going to be selling. And I'd rather go that direction in terms of monetization rather than advertising. I think advertising is valuable, but it's difficult when you're smaller, more difficult to really manage at a smaller level. I think we have deeper opportunities elsewhere. Subscriptions, he also mentioned this. And this is really where I sit. Subscriptions and premium content. Mark had mentioned this outright. And I think there's a bigger value in that for the future of news. The challenge with larger publications, let's say you read a newspaper, you read a magazine, you read like a series of blogs on a website. You're trusting the brand, but more importantly, you're probably trusting one person underneath that brand or working with the brand. You've got your favorite authors, you got your favorite YouTubers, you got your favorite personalities. You like them, you trust them, you know them, you appreciate them. And that is difficult, I think, for news organizations to understand, because for years it's been that bigger umbrella of that brand, and you work for that brand. And I don't think the value sits there anymore. I think the value is in the individual. Do you follow me because I go under the handle LockerGnome? Probably not. But you might follow me because it's me. It's Chris Pirillo, and you never know what you're going to get. And, you like me for one reason or another at whatever level it happens to be. So the idea of subscriptions is valuable, but you have to identify what people want most from you as a news organization. And I'm not a journalist. I'm not a news organization. I'm just me. And trying to figure out, how that works in this grand scheme of things has been somewhat of a challenge for me for the past few years. He also makes note of premium content. And I don't know if that's really something that I would separate at this stage compared to subscriptions in terms of what news outlets might provide. But I understand that it is a certain tier of value that some people have when they trust a person or they trust a brand, that premium content. Another thing he mentioned was conferences and events. And this is something that I knew, and I'd been doing events well over a decade. In fact, today I think, or within the next few days, we're going to be announcing officially Vlogger Fair number 2, happening in Seattle, Washington, August 16th. Everybody's invited. Everybody's invited. Everybody. You don't need to be a vlogger. Hell, you don't even have to like vlogs. Just show up. If you like me, you'll show up. If not, maybe you can't make it. Not a big deal. So I knew that. Conferences and events can be great to connect with your community, as well as to create a sustainable business model that may very well turn out to help pay for your publishing process over the year. Because, most people don't work for free. That's what it boils down to. Generally speaking, unless you're a communist, you're not going to work for free. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to get everything for free. Someone has to get paid somewhere down the line, and figuring out that right balance is crucial, especially for news organizations. Another couple of points that were made included crowdfunding and included philanthropy. The the idea of crowdfunding is extremely valuable if you have a crowd, if you have a community. And so I find what we're doing, after reading what Mark had written here, we're hitting about as many points as we possibly can right now. Creating subscriptions, the patrons, through patreon.com/Chris Pirillo, or chrispirillo.com as a redirect. We've got crowdfunding, because you guys are supporting that model and allowing people who aren't able to support it that way to be able to experience the content as well. So everybody wins. Win, win, win. And then also that the third part of it would be the conferences and events. The one thing that he did not, and that would be Vlogger Fair at this stage. I have no plans on launching any other event right now. Because the first one was, I would consider a very... it was successful to the point where we wanted to do a second one. The only thing that I'm throwing into the pot, because I think it is possible to do, at least for a period of time, is reselling products. Because constantly I'm asked, what are you drinking? What are you wearing? What are you this? What are you that? And I'm like, okay, well, I can pass you off to an Amazon page, but to me, there's just a deeper connection that I can make with people who identify with things that are geeky, like Darth Vader, or comic books, or superheroes, or sci-fi, or whatever it happens to be. I'm not likely to ever sell anything related to technology, because you don't make a lot of money at all. Like the margins are so low, you can't win. You just can't. It's not a good business model to go after. So I haven't. That's one of the reasons why. And I'm sure someone who inevitably asks will never have watched me saying this. However, if you are watching, that's one of the reasons why I would never want to get into selling pieces of technology. They're outdated too fast, versus this, valuable indefinitely. So it was really, really nice to read Mark's perspective on the future of the news business. I've had to adapt to Twitter and Facebook and Google Plus and YouTube and Pinterest, and you name any social platform. It's not always easy. It really isn't, especially when the model that worked well suddenly doesn't work well anymore. And that doesn't mean that the value of what you placed in me has necessarily changed for you. And stop me if you've heard me say this recently, but it's very, very relevant to what Mark put out there. I don't know how many other news organizations are going to pick up on this, but he even cited a few fantastic examples. And I looked through them like, yeah, they did a really good job with execution. They did a good job, with finding the right people, getting the right coverage, doing the right thing with what they wanted to do. I tried going down that path, and yeah, I've never built a news team before. I've reported news. I've talked about my perspective on the news, but I'm a talking head. I'm generally not someone who wants to cover launch events necessarily. It's not what thrills me. I like sharing my ideas and perspectives and talking to you about what I found over the past day or so. But beyond that, I'm just not as interested right now. So I've had to wrestle with the question of, well, what do people want from me? And this is going to be a question I'm probably going to ask for the rest of my life. But it's all the more reason that I know I need to build a team of geeks who are very passionate about the things that they love, and build that up so that it's not just always going to be me who has to do everything, because I can't. Because I'm not interested in the same things you are every single step of the way. But I'm interested, potentially, tangentially, but I can drive it in a certain way. But unfortunately, not a big gamer. I love gadgets, but I don't do deep dives. I produce video, but it's usually live video, because editing video I hate doing. And I do it every day with the Pirillo vlog, because I have to, right? Because I enjoy doing it, and it's easy enough, but there's all of these components that come into play. So I'm probably going to read Mark Andreessen's article a few more times. I recommend you read it as well, especially if you get your news online, because you got to understand, news outlets and organizations face a different set of stressors than people who take that information in. And I'm not saying I identify with everything that Mark had laid out here, but I definitely see and understand and value the examples that he highlighted of teams of people who have done it well, because they were, well-staffed, well-funded, well-directed, well this, that, and the other thing. Things that I tried to do, but it's never the idea, it's the execution. And that's also something that I've said before, but I'm certainly not the only one. I wish that, over time, I could grow the number of patrons in such a way that you feel that you're a part of this process of growth. We're not even a full month out of the gate with the TLDR reboot. And so the more I know about what you might want from me that I can give you, the better off I'm going to be able to be, the better decisions I may be able to make in terms of being able to do more. But not just more. More is not better, but do more of what you want rather than just more. And there's absolutely a difference. I can't take on the world. I just want to be able to grow and accommodate, your needs from me, because obviously, well, at least at the beginning of the broadcast, we had 415, and at the end of the broadcast, we also have 415 patrons, at least to these 415 people who absolutely matter, because they're making it possible for me to do better for everybody. So thank you again for tuning in. I knew I wanted to spend more time on that article, which I realize may fly completely over the heads of 99% of the people who watch this video, but it's important to me because this is what I do. This is what I do. So thank you. If you guys ever come across something that you find interesting throughout the day, drop me an email, chris@pirillo.com. You can tweet me. I may see it, and it may make it into the show notes for the day. You can check out the links in this video's description. Most of what I covered will be down there or linked in there. And thank you again for watching this deeply into the video. Thank you for remembering to like, comment, share, subscribe, and watch even more of our videos right now. If this was just a tiny bit interesting, and if it wasn't, wow, you made it through the end of the video. Congratulations. A little pat on the back. We'll see you later.